Hi, my name is Henning Kunz, and in this video session I will show you how to set up and configure iDNA for Foundation. Our appliance, as a prerequisite, you have to download one of the two images which we make available at the FTP site, at our public FTP site, and there's one image to deploy on the VMware workstation and one image to deploy on in a vSphere infrastructure. I downloaded the iDNA for workstation, for VMware workstation, deployed it already, and what you can see is that it has 2 GB of RAM, which is perfectly okay for testing environment. If you go productive with that, you need about 4 GB for up to 30 servers and 8 GB for more than 30 servers. It has 2 data partitions, each 20 GB. The second one might be readjusted if you measure a lot of servers for a very long time. But for our setup, this is totally sufficient, and we start the setup by starting the appliance itself. During the start, all the main software components will be started too. So we have a Postgres SQL server on it, we have a Tomcat application server on it, and a Nodes client, which makes the connections to the Domino backend. And those 3 components are fired up during startup. So the appliance is started, and the only thing we need to know is if it got an IP address. We see that it got one. The appliance, upon starting, it will try to fetch an IP address from a DHCP server if available in the network segment. If not, you could easily specify a static IP address. The whole configuration process now is done from a HTML5 ready browser. So we will leave the appliance for now and just open up a browser. In my case, it's a Firefox, but you could use any HTML5 browser you prefer. So the only thing we have to do is opening up the URL to configure the appliance. And if you remember, the IP address is iDNA. iDNA is the web application for the administration. You see the login screen already, so you could use the user config, same password as the username, and this is available to do the initial configuration. First thing we have to do is uploading a license file. The license file, you will get the license file from Panagenda as an email. So you just put it into your file system, so we could open up a file dialog from our appliance and get to the license file. It's a very small text file containing all the information you need. Choose it, upload it, and you should be done. You will get directly an answer that the license is valid or not, and validity is until the end of the year in this case. All our configuration screens have back buttons, so if you want to continue with a further configuration, you use the back button. The whole configuration process now is to be done from the upper right to the lower right. So the first thing we will do is we will upload a Nodes ID, which you have to provide for your environment. So this is an ID which has to be able to access all the backend servers you want to measure and all the log files, all the Domino directories. We will upload that. After uploading that ID, we will be able to connect the backend for the first time. We will try to do a server discovery to collect a proper list of servers which are to be measured in future. And then after creating this server list, we will configure the content packages. So the first step is uploading the ID file, which resides in the file system. I prepared that. This is an ID for a Nodes person, so it should have a proper password. If you type that in, you will directly get the answer if that was successful or not. So you see the person name, the full name of this ID file, and if you see a success, then you had the right password. So this is done. We can go back And now it's time to connect to the backend using that ID. This is all done from the configuration screen. We do a Domino server discovery, and you have two options. Either you type in a IP address to one of your Domino servers, or you type in a fully qualified domain name. I'm using the IP address and start the discovery. And the result of this discovery should be a proper list of servers out of your environment. You see, we got 7 servers back, and in this column X's you find nodes RP errors. So if there's a 0, these servers could be connected properly, and the 2051s are servers which have been down during the discovery process, or where there's no DNS for them, or there's no network connectivity to them. But for the time being, I'd like to work with these 3 servers which are available, so we could go back and configure the content packages. For the content packages, we have 4 of them to be configured for iDNA Foundation. The first one is collecting information about servers, so server documents, nodes, INIs, and statistics from servers. The second one collects all information out of catalog files, so all the NSF and NTF inventory from your servers. The third one collects all the session data from user sessions in the log files. And the fourth is a little bit different than the other 3. It collects all the person, group, and mail-in information out of the Domino directory. Configuration is pretty easy. So you go back. On the left-hand side, we have the 7 servers which have been found during the server discovery. The red ones are those who couldn't be accessed, so you could easily filter them out by clicking here. So in the remaining 3 we would like to measure. So we add them all to the right-hand side and save and close. The same for the database catalog. You could either do the same setting, but if you have a more complicated list of servers picked in the first thing, then you could copy the settings over from an already configured content package like the Domino Server Basics. Copy the settings from there. We'll do the same for the session activity. It's almost all the same. So that means we have the 3 servers configured for the first 3 content packages, and in this point in time, measuring is already being done at those servers, so they are already being measured. And the last content package is a little bit different in setup. You normally configure the content package for 1 server in a node's domain. We are measuring 1 domain, so we need just 1 server. I take this one, and in the context of this server, you have 2 options. Either you collect information for the person, group, and mail-in databases out of all available directories, so the primary and the secondary ones, which have been made available via directory assistance on the server, or you specify an explicit list of databases. So in the most cases, you will just choose the names NSF, so the primary directory, and you're ready to go because it's a single domain. That's all we have to do for first collection. The appliance is running, content packages are configured. It will be measuring from now, and in a few days you could come back and get your first report.